Stakeholders of the construction of the new Bastia High School has sought to allay fears of contamination of the underground water in the Bastia Valley Aquifer at a town hall meeting on Wednesday night at the Tucker Clark Primary School. The panel of experts comprised Chairman of the Innotech Services and Kits Limited, Anthony De Silva, Water Engineer Dr. Hallisey Haley, Senior Principal, Stantec Caribbean, Mr. Andrew Hutchinson, Director of the Development Control Planning Board, Mr. Randolph Edmead, and D&B Project Manager, Innotech Services and Kits Limited, Mr. Ian Rogers. Mr. Vincent Hodge, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education, chaired the function as each of the experts made presentations on the various aspects of the project and why contamination of the underground water is unlikely to occur. However, after the presentation, patrons were afforded the opportunity to ask questions, which were answered by members of the panel. Here are highlights.
With all the expertise and the type of things I heard here, the soil testing and the sewage and whatever, why can't we clean up the old Bastia High School? I'm not talking, yes, and I'm not talking about, at this point, building on it. I'm talking about why have we kept a site like that in such a decrepit, dirty, environmental hazardous condition.
When I recognize the quality and qualifications of our local people, I am still wondering and baffled. Why is it that some of our local engineers, why some of our architects are still playing second fiddle? Why? It is bothering to me.
And I want to touch on the last question, I believe, from Mr. Warner, who addressed me specifically about local involvement, and I can assure you that I have met with Mr. Warner. He might not recall it, but I have met with him, and we've discussed his involvement in the project at the Bastia High School. So I don't know exactly what it is he's complaining about, but we've discussed his involvement. Now, if he doesn't want to be involved, then he ought only need to send me a letter in that regard.
So these are the wells in the Bastia, and our school is way down here somewhere, all right? And so there's a hydraulic gradient here, and it's going down gradient towards the sea. So it's not, whatever we put in the ground is highly treated, but it's not possible for it to flow uphill. Water doesn't go up a hill, it goes down a hill.
Because he has led the audience to believe that water only flows uphill. Sorry, downhill. From my experience and training, I know that moisture moves from lower levels in the soil to higher levels through capillary reaction, and also groundwater can reverse their flow path because groundwater flow from hydraulic head to a lower hydraulic head.
I think it's stated quite clearly that the hydraulic gradient in this case is from north to south. Cannot be reversed in this case. Now, there are other cases in other places that maybe not an island nation where you can have groundwater flow in different directions, but in this particular case of the Bastia Valley watershed, because of the topography and because of the geology, the hydraulic gradient is from north to south.
And one of the things that struck me, first off, like it did Mr. Blanchett apparently, was the disclaimer. Yes, I know it was said that it's standard operating procedure, but it made me uncomfortable. You're supposed to stand by what you believe in.
The intent of what's written here, if we provide a report, advice to a client, that advice is intended for the use of that client. All this is saying is that if a third party chooses to take this report and run and do it, we're not responsible. That's all it says. Read it carefully.
Former principal of the Bastia High School, who is now the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Tourism, Mrs. Carleen Henry Morton, gave a statement during the question and answer segment about the situation pertaining to the school.
The same people who are asking a lot of questions now about the hypothetical watched when the actual illnesses were taking place. Never asked a question. Never asked a question. And a number of them were doctors. Divided by the Bastia High School by a fence. Never asked a question. The ambulance used to make trips up there 3 and 4 times in a week. Never a question. People broke out with sores and all kind of things. Never a question. But everybody concerned now conveniently about hypothetically, maybe something gonna happen. And I am not saying that something may not happen. But I am saying that if we had a quarter of the concern back then, we would not have been here.
We'll provide more reports on this forum in a subsequent newscast. I'm Andre Huey, reporting for SKN Newsline.